Have you ever wanted to turn your own drawings into reusable Procreate brushes? Well, that's what we're going to be doing today. I'll show you how to create a stamp brush directly in Procreate, which you can then use in your projects. I'm going to make a pattern with mine, but you can also use them for digital planning and art journaling, and they can just save you time if you don't want to draw the same shape out over and over again. So here we are in Procreate. Let's just turn it on. I just have to make a small disclaimer. This is my first time doing a Procreate video, and so I've probably got some glare on the screen, but I've done the best I can. But there's also a wobble because the way that I've got the phone hanging above the iPad is on a different contraption, and it's going to produce a bit more wobble, so bear with me. I will try and do what I can to prevent that, but there might be some wobble. So now let's get into it. I'm going to start off with a square canvas. This is just the standard canvas that comes in Procreate. So the size we can see by going down to canvas information. It is dimensions 2048 pixels by 2048 pixels and 132 dpi. I want to make it 300 dpi because that will give me a better resolution. So to do that, I'm going to go crop and resize, settings, DPI, and put 300. Done. And I'm going to leave it the same size because that's absolutely fine. So what we're going to do here is draw our stamp. The first thing I want to do is make sure that I'm using black. So I'm just going to check my color and then go down to, I like to check it by going to classic and making sure that this circle here is in the very left hand corner. And then you can double check it by going to value, and you can see that there's 6 zeros here for the hexadecimal, and everything is far to the left. So we're sure that we've got a black. The reason that it's good to have a black is that it will give us a more opaque color for the stamp. The next thing we need to do is choose our brush. I'm going to use one of the default brushes in Procreate, and I'm going to use, I could use the ink blend. I quite like that one. Let's make it a bit bigger. It's got some nice fuzzy edges. Or the dry ink. That's also nice. Or the one that I'm thinking I might go is with the chalk, because it's got some really lovely texture in there and some areas of it where it's deep black. So I think that would be nice. So let's try that. I'm going to go layer, clear, get rid of all that, and then set the size of my brush. So I feel like that's maybe a little too big. Yeah, that's probably a bit better. Okay, so now that I've played around, I'll clear that again. And we can start drawing our stamp. I'm going to draw a very simple flower, which can then be used in a pattern. So I might just make it a bit smaller again. So I'm just going to go round for the centerpiece and then give it some petals. If you don't like something you just did, you can just tap with 2 fingers and that will get rid of it. Alternatively, you can use these arrows here to either get rid of what you did or put it back again if I decided that I wanted it. But I'm going to get rid of it and draw that again. Okay, so there's our very simple flower. So the next step is to click on the wrench, add, and then copy canvas. That will copy exactly what we can see. So now I'm going to go up to the brush and click on the plus sign, which will give us the settings to make a new brush. I'm going to click on shape and shape source. Here I want to click import and paste. That will paste in the image that we copied onto the canvas. Now, when I'm in here, I need it to be inverse. I need the back to be black and the actual image itself to be white. So there's a really simple way of doing that. I just take my 2 fingers, click on it, and it reverses it for me. And then I can go done. So there we have our brush. You can see on the right that it's looking like a crazy line, which is not what we want at all. So I'm going to go back to stroke path. The spacing is what is going to control how many flowers we have on our brush. If I wanted to make a complete brush, I would just go left for spacing and that would give me more of a line. But because I want this to be a stamp, I'm going to go all the way to the right. And you can see as I do that, that the flowers begin to separate and get further apart. So I'm going to go all the way to max. The next thing I'm going to do is go down to properties and I'm going to make it maximum size a bit bigger, maybe 600 or something like that. 607 is fine. Minimum size, I'll make it about 20 because I don't want it to be teeny tiny. If you want to be really precise, you can write the number that you want over it, which is much easier than fiddling around with the slider. That's okay. The maximum opacity is up, so that's great. I'll hit done, and then we're back in the canvas itself. So I'm going to hit new layer, turn the other one off beneath, and then select my brush, which is selected. It's put it into the calligraphy group, so that's fine. We can move that later if we want to. And let's try it out. There's the brush. If I move this slider on the left, I can make it smaller or put it up and make it maximum size. Again, I'll just clear that. I find when I use the pencil to do the brush, the first one that comes out is always quite faint. I'm not really sure why that is, but if you use your finger to tap it, that doesn't happen, so bear that in mind. You can see how all the flowers are coming out at exactly the same position. So one thing I like to do to give it a bit more variety without having to do any more work myself is to go back into the brush settings, click on the brush, and then go under shape, scroll down to shape properties until you get to scatter. And then I just like to move that along, and you can see here on the right hand side how they're rotating. So that just means that they will randomly rotate by themselves each time you stamp it, so they won't come out exactly the same one after the other. So I'm going to put that on 20, and then I'm just going to go down to properties, click on use stamp preview so that when we are in the brush view we just have the actual flower itself. I'm going to go down to about this brush made by me, and I'm going to hit done. So let's clear that, and we'll try again with the brush. So this time you can see that each time I stamp it, they come out at a slightly different rotation. I find that a really useful way to just give it a bit more variety and variation without having to go in every time and move each one around. So you can see that it's super easy to make yourself a brush stamp. I just want to move this brush out of the calligraphy and put it into my own folder. So to do that, I'm going to click on the brush, move it slightly over the other brushes, and then scroll down to my folder Rebs New, and I'm going to just dump it in there. And I'm going to give it a name, untitled brush, so we'll call it Flower Brush. Now that we have our new brush named and in its correct folder, we can go ahead and make some artwork with it. So I'm just going to stamp it around and make a little quick pattern. I'm going to make it bigger than that. Okay, so maybe a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to randomly stamp some of these around. And then I'm going to make it a bit smaller. So this could be almost like a ditzy pattern. For now, I'm not going to worry about the things going over the edge. If I wanted to create a proper seamless repeat from this, I could do that, and I probably will do that in a separate video, but for now we'll just concentrate on the brush itself and just put some of these small ones in. Now I'm going to create a separate layer underneath that one, and I'm going to grab my color palette. I'm now going to choose a brush, so I'm going to go down to the drawing, Blackburn, which is a nice big brush that I can fill in some colours behind, and we'll make these big ones just really rough. Sometimes it's just fun to be inaccurate and not have to worry about perfectly filling in the outlines. So there they are all filled in. If I wanted to get rid of that black of the flower outline, all I would have to do is go up to my layer, swipe right with 2 fingers to make it alpha lock, and then I can select a different color, come back in, click on the layer and go fill layer. That means that it will only fill what was black, or where there were pixels essentially. So that gives us a really nice, more of a gentle feeling than that harsh black, which I really like. And that's that. So that shows you the complete process of making a brush yourself, drawing with it, and then making a quick pattern or doing whatever. These brushes can be so useful. You can use them for a myriad of things, and it just saves you a whole world of time. They can be super useful for creating your logo, for example. So I'll just go and find mine. I'll make the color black, go and find it. I think there it is. And then create a new layer. And then I can just pop it on there. And there you have it. So I hope you found that useful and helpful. And if you'd like to grab my free stamp brush, I'll put a link to that in the description below. And stay tuned for the next video where I'll be creating a custom habit tracker in Procreate using brush stamps. I'll put a link to that video in the description below once it's been released. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.